The red sand of Xerion Prime blew across the battlefield like angry dust. Dr. Kalthara watched from the medical tent as another transport ship landed with wounded soldiers. Her forearms moved quickly as she prepared medical tools. She had been working on this planet for 3 months now, treating soldiers from 12 different alien species. The Galactic Medical Coalition had sent their best doctors to this war zone. The Vorthan Empire was pushing hard to take this planet, and the fighting never stopped. Every day brought more wounded soldiers to her tent. "Doctor, we have incoming wounded," called Nurse Velkara, pointing at the newest transport ship. "They say these are the new human soldiers." Kalthara had heard about humans. They were a new species in the galactic community. Only recently had they joined the fight against the Vorthan Empire. Most doctors knew very little about human biology. Their home planet Earth was said to be very dangerous, but Kalthara thought that was just stories. The transport ship opened its doors. Smoke poured out and the smell of burned metal filled the air. 4 human soldiers stumbled out, helping each other walk. Their uniforms were torn and blackened from battle. The first soldier was tall and strong-looking. His name tag read SGTT Kim. Behind him came 3 others: CPL M Park, CPL J Lee, and PVT N Choi. They all looked tired but alert. Sergeant Taiho. Kim looked around the medical tent with sharp eyes. He had never seen alien doctors before. Dr. Kalthara approached him slowly. She was tall and blue-skinned with large, gentle eyes. Her species, the Altarians, were known as the best healers in the galaxy. "Please let us help you," Kalthara said in basic galactic language. "You are safe now." Taiho nodded but kept watching everything around him. Corporal Minyo Park was limping badly. His left leg had a deep burn mark from a Vorthan plasma weapon. The burn went through his uniform and into his skin. Black marks showed where the energy had hit him. "Sir, I can still fight," Minho said to Taiho. "Just need a quick patch job." Dr. Kalthara moved toward Minho with her medical scanner. The device showed internal damage and severe burns. In any other species, this wound would need immediate surgery and weeks of recovery time. "You must lie down immediately," she told Minho. "This injury is very serious. You need complex treatment." But Minho was not listening. He reached into his belt and pulled out a combat knife. The blade was made of special metal that could be heated by the handle. Kalthara watched in confusion as Minho pressed a button on the knife handle. The blade began to glow red hot. "What are you doing?" Kalthara asked, stepping closer with concern. Without answering, Minho pressed the hot blade against his burned leg. The sound of sizzling flesh filled the medical tent. The smell of burning skin made several alien medical staff step back in shock. Minho's face showed pain, but he did not cry out. He did not scream. He just pressed his lips together and held the hot metal against his wound for several seconds. Steam rose from where the blade touched his leg. Dr. Kalthara could not believe what she was seeing. No known species could do such a thing to themselves. The pain should have made Minho unconscious. But the human soldier just stood there, calmly burning his own flesh. "There," Minho said, putting his knife away. Bleeding stopped. "Good to go, Sergeant." The alien medical staff stood frozen. Dr. Vexandra, the tent psychologist, rushed forward. Her species had very sensitive minds and could feel the emotions of other beings. She had felt Minho's pain as if it were her own. "This is impossible," Vexandra whispered. "No mind can handle such self-inflicted trauma." He must be in shock, but Minho was not in shock. He was testing his leg, putting weight on it. The burn was sealed shut. No blood came from the wound. He looked ready to return to battle. "We need to get back out there," Taiho said to his squad. "The Vorthans are still pushing toward the main base." Corporal Jiwon Lee had cuts on her arms from metal shrapnel. She pulled out a small medical kit and began cleaning her wounds with calm efficiency. Private Nari Choi was checking a bruise on her shoulder, where she had been thrown against a wall by an explosion. None of the humans seemed worried about their injuries. They treated their wounds like minor problems to solve quickly. Dr. Kalthara had treated thousands of wounded soldiers. She had seen Krillian warriors who could ignore pain, and Zentorian soldiers who could fight with broken bones. But she had never seen anything like this. These humans were doing medical procedures on themselves that should require trained doctors and pain medication. "Please, you must stay for proper treatment," Kalthara insisted. "Your wounds need professional care." Taiho looked at her with respectful but firm eyes. "Doctor, we appreciate your help. But our friends are still fighting out there. They need us. But your injuries are handled," Taiho finished. "We know our bodies. We know what we can take. The human squad began walking toward the tent exit. Minho was moving normally on his burned leg. The other humans showed no signs of the pain they should be feeling. Dr. Thara called after them. At least let us scan you for internal damage. Tejo paused at the tent entrance. Explosions could be heard in the distance. The battle was still raging. Doc, in human military training, they teach us that our bodies can handle more than our minds think they can. Pain is just information. You process it and keep moving. With that, the 4 human soldiers walked back toward the battlefield. They moved like soldiers ready for combat, not like patients who had just suffered serious injuries. The alien medical staff stood in stunned silence. Dr. Thara looked at her scanner readings from Minho's leg. The burns were severe enough to require major surgery in any other species, yet the human had sealed them with a hot knife and walked away. Dr. Vexandra was shaking. Her empathic abilities had let her feel Minho's pain during the self-cauterization. It had been intense enough to overwhelm her senses, yet the human had remained functional throughout. How is this possible? Asked Nurse Velcara. Dr. Thara did not know, but she began recording everything in her medical logs. Something told her that these humans would challenge everything the galaxy thought it knew about medicine, pain, and the limits of biological endurance. Outside the tent, another explosion shook the ground. The war continued, and somewhere out there, 4 human soldiers were rejoining a battle that would change galactic medicine forever. Dr. Thara could not sleep that night. She kept thinking about the human soldiers and what she had witnessed. She had sent reports to the Galactic Medical Coalition, but she knew they would not believe her descriptions. The next morning brought more wounded soldiers to the medical tent. Dr. Thara was treating a Zentarian soldier with a broken arm when alarms began sounding throughout the camp. The Vorthons were attacking again. All medical staff to emergency positions, came the announcement over the communication system. Incoming wounded from Sector 7. Dr. Vexandra rushed to Thara's side. The Zelani psychologist had not slept either. She was still troubled by feeling the human soldier's pain the day before. Doctor, I have been studying galactic medical records all night, Vexandra said. There is no species capable of what we witnessed yesterday. Either these humans are suffering from a collective mental breakdown or what? Thara asked, preparing her medical equipment, or they represent something entirely new in galactic biology. The first transport arrived carrying wounded from the morning battle. Among them was the same human squad from yesterday. Sergeant Tai-Ho Kim was helping Corporal Minho Park walk. Minho's burned leg was moving normally, though it should have been useless after such an injury. But this time they brought more humans with them. A tall man with captain's insignia approached the medical tent. His name tag read Capt. S. Yoon. Captain Sunho Yoon looked around the medical facility with interest. He had heard that his soldiers had surprised the alien medical staff the day before. Doctor, Sunho said to Thara, I want to thank you for treating my soldiers yesterday. They did not let us treat them properly, Thara replied. They performed dangerous procedures on themselves. Sunho nodded. Yes, field cauterization is standard training for human soldiers. We learn it in basic combat medicine. Dr. Vexandra stepped forward. Captain, we need to discuss this. What your soldiers did should be psychologically impossible. The pain alone should have caused unconsciousness. Before Sunho could answer, a Vorthon energy blast hit the side of the medical tent. The explosion threw everyone to the ground. Emergency alarms began wailing as enemy soldiers appeared at the camp's perimeter. Sunho stood up quickly, checking his weapon. A piece of metal shrapnel had cut his right arm. Blood was flowing from a gash that ran from his elbow to his wrist. The alien medical staff prepared to treat his wound, but Sunho was already moving. He pulled out a small device from his belt. It was an energy cell from his sidearm weapon. What are you doing? Dr. Thara asked. Standard field treatment. Sunho replied calmly. He pressed a button on the energy cell, and it began to glow with heat. The alien doctors watched in horror as Sunho methodically pressed the hot cell against his bleeding arm. The sound of burning flesh filled the air once again. Dr. Vexandra felt the human's pain through her empathic abilities. It was like being struck by lightning. Yet Sunho's expression remained calm and focused. He sealed his wound section by section, working with the precision of a trained surgeon. Defense positions, Sunho commanded his soldiers. Protect the medical facility. Lieutenant Gina Kang and Sergeant Hyuk Nam moved to defensive positions around the tent. Both had suffered injuries in the attack, but they followed their captain's example. Gina used a heated piece of metal to seal a cut on her face. Hyuk pressed a hot knife blade against a shrapnel wound in his shoulder. The alien medical staff stood frozen in shock. They were watching 3 humans perform medical procedures that should require anesthesia and sterile conditions. Yet these soldiers were doing it in the middle of a battle, without any signs of trauma or breakdown. Dr. Kalthara began to understand that this was not madness. This was adaptation. These humans had learned to function through pain that would disable any other species she knew. Form a perimeter around the medical tent, Sunho ordered. Do not let the Vorthans reach the wounded. The human soldiers took positions around the tent. They fought with the same calm efficiency they had shown while treating their wounds. Dr. Kalthara watched Sunho coordinate the defense while blood still dripped from his recently cauterized arm. The battle lasted for 2 hours. During that time, Dr. Kalthara observed the humans carefully. They moved like soldiers who were not affected by their injuries. Their self-treatment methods, while appearing brutal, were actually very effective. When the Vorthans finally retreated, Dr. Kalthara approached Captain Sunho. His arm was sealed shut and no longer bleeding. In any other species, such a wound would require weeks of recovery time. Captain, I need to understand, she said. How can your people function normally after such injuries? Sunho looked at his arm, then at the alien doctor. Doctor, humans evolved on a planet where injury was common. Our ancestors had to keep moving even when hurt or they would die. We learned to push through pain because survival depended on it. Dr. Vexandra joined the conversation. But the psychological trauma of self-inflicted medical procedures should be overwhelming. We don't see it as self-inflicted trauma, Sunho explained. We see it as necessary medical care. In human military training, we learn that our minds can control our pain responses. Fear of pain often hurts more than the pain itself. Dr. Kalthara began taking detailed notes. This was revolutionizing everything she understood about pain tolerance and medical treatment. Captain, would you be willing to let us study your medical techniques? She asked. This could help us treat other species more effectively. Sunho nodded. Of course, Doctor. But you should know that what you saw today was just basic field medicine. Human military medics know much more advanced techniques. As if summoned by his words, a human soldier with medic insignia approached them. Her name tag read Medic Y Han. Medic Yuna Han had been treating human casualties throughout the battle. She carried a field medical kit that looked very different from standard galactic medical equipment. Sir, casualty report, Yuna said to Captain Sunho. 12 wounded, all treated and returned to duty. No evacuations needed. Dr. Kalthara stared at Medicon. 12 wounded soldiers returned to duty? During a battle? Yes, ma'am, Yuna replied. Standard field treatment protocols. Stop bleeding, prevent infection, maintain function. Advanced care can wait until after the mission. Dr. Vexandra was recording everything with her psychological assessment equipment. This represents a completely different philosophy of medical care, she said. Most species prioritize comfort and complete healing before returning to activity. Humans prioritize function, Yuna explained. We can handle discomfort if it means completing the mission and protecting our comrades. As the day ended, Dr. Kalthara found herself questioning everything she had learned about medicine. These humans were showing her that pain tolerance could be trained, that self-treatment could be more effective than complex procedures, and that the mind could control the body's responses in ways she had never imagined. She began drafting a new report to the Galactic Medical Coalition. This report would challenge thousands of years of established medical doctrine, but after what she had witnessed, she knew that galactic medicine would never be the same. The humans had not just survived their injuries. They had thrived despite them. And they had done it all while protecting others and completing their mission. Dr. Kalthara realized she was witnessing the emergence of a new standard for combat medicine in the galaxy. The attacks on the medical station were getting worse every day. Dr. Kalthara had moved her most sensitive equipment underground, but the Vorthans kept finding new ways to disrupt their operations. Today's assault had damaged their main power generator, forcing the medical team to work with backup systems. The alien medical staff struggled without their advanced equipment. Dr. Kalthara watched as her colleague, Dr. Mordock, tried to treat a Krillian soldier with a chest wound. Without the automated surgical systems, the procedure was taking much longer than usual. "We need to evacuate this patient to the main hospital ship," Dr. Mordak announced. "I cannot perform this surgery with limited equipment," Dr. Kelthera agreed. The alien medical protocols required specific conditions for complex procedures. Clean environments, full anesthesia, and advanced monitoring systems were considered essential for any serious treatment. That's when Private Do-hyun, SCO, arrived at the medical tent. Do-hyun had been caught in a direct hit from a Vorthon thermal weapon. His entire left side was covered in severe burns. The energy blast had burned through his uniform and into his skin. Dr. Kelthera could see exposed muscle tissue in several places. "This patient needs immediate evacuation," Dr. Vexandra announced after scanning Do-hyun with her equipment. "These burns require advanced surgical reconstruction and weeks of intensive care." But Do-hyun was still conscious and alert. He looked around the medical tent and saw the struggling alien medical staff. He also saw several wounded soldiers waiting for treatment. "Doc, how long until you can get me to the hospital ship?" Do-hyun asked Dr. Kelthera. "The transport ships are busy with evacuations," she replied. "It could be several hours before we can move you safely." Do-hyun nodded and then called out, "Medic Han, you got your plasma torch with you?" Medic Yuna Han approached with her field medical kit. She pulled out a small device that could heat metal to very high temperatures. It was designed for cutting through damaged armor, but human medics had found other uses for it. "You sure about this, Do-hyun?" Yuna asked. "These burns are pretty bad. Can't wait around bleeding all day," Do-hyun replied. "Got work to do." Dr. Kelthera realized what they were planning and stepped forward quickly. "No, you cannot use industrial equipment for medical procedures. The risk of infection and additional tissue damage is too high." But Yuna was already heating the plasma torch. She adjusted it to a lower setting and began explaining the procedure to Do-hyun. "I'm going to seal the worst bleeding areas first," she said. "It's going to hurt like hell, but it'll stop the blood loss and prevent infection." Dr. Vexandra felt her empathic abilities overloading as she sensed Do-hyun's pain tolerance preparing for the procedure. No other species could mentally prepare for such intense self-inflicted trauma. Yuna began working on Do-hyun's burns with the plasma torch. The smell of cauterized flesh filled the medical tent. The sound was horrible, like meat cooking on an open fire. But Do-hyun remained conscious and calm throughout the entire procedure. The alien medical staff watched in fascination and horror. They were seeing field medicine that was more effective than their sophisticated equipment. Yuna sealed each burn systematically, working with the precision of a trained surgeon. "There," Yuna said after 30 minutes of work. "Bleeding stopped, wound sealed, infection risk minimized. You should be good for light duty." Do-hyun stood up and tested his movement. His burned side was completely sealed shut. No blood was leaking from any of his wounds. He looked ready to return to active service. "Thanks, Yuna," he said. "I'll be at the ammunition depot coordinating resupply. Call me if you need heavy lifting." Dr. Kelthera could not believe what she had witnessed. Do-hyun's injuries should have left him bedridden for weeks. Instead, he was walking away to resume his duties. "This is impossible," Dr. Mordak said. "The pain alone should have caused cardiac arrest." Dr. Vexandra was studying her psychological readings from the procedure. The human's mind actually suppressed pain signals during the treatment. "I can see evidence of conscious pain management techniques." Medic Yuna heard their discussion and approached them. "Would you like me to explain human field medicine philosophy?" "Please," Dr. Kelthera said. "We need to understand how this is possible." Yuna sat down with the alien medical staff and opened her field manual. "Human military medicine is based on mission continuation. Our goal is not perfect healing. It's maintaining function until the mission is complete." She showed them diagrams of human anatomy with marked pressure points and cauterization sites. "We learned that temporary pain is acceptable if it prevents permanent damage. A sealed burn heals better than an infected wound." Dr. Kelthera studied the human medical manual. It was completely different from galactic medical standards. Where alien medicine focused on comfort and gradual healing, human medicine prioritized speed and function. "But how do you handle the psychological trauma?" Dr. Vexandra asked. "What trauma?" Yuna replied. "We're helping our bodies heal faster. The pain is temporary, but the benefits last. We train our minds to see past immediate discomfort to long-term survival." Staff Sergeant Kyung-bae arrived at the medical tent with Private Mina Oh. Both had been injured in the latest Vorthon attack. Kyung had taken shrapnel in his back, while Mina had suffered a broken arm from an explosion. Dr. Kalthara watched as they demonstrated more human field medicine techniques. Kyung used a heated knife blade to seal his shrapnel wounds while Mina set her own broken arm using materials from the medical tent. "Your species must have evolved under extremely harsh conditions," Dr. Vexandra observed. "Earth is a dangerous planet," Kyung confirmed while working on his wounds. "Our ancestors faced predators, natural disasters, and limited medical resources. Those who could treat their own injuries and keep moving were more likely to survive." Mina finished setting her broken arm and created a splint from tent supports. "Human children learn basic first aid before they can read properly. Everyone knows how to stop bleeding and treat burns." Dr. Kalthara began to understand that human brutality was actually sophisticated adaptation. These soldiers were not ignoring pain. They were processing it and responding appropriately. The next Vorthon attack came that evening. The medical tent was hit directly, destroying most of the alien medical equipment, but the human soldiers continued treating casualties using their field medicine techniques. Dr. Kalthara found herself working alongside Medic Yuna as they treated wounded soldiers from multiple species. She watched as Yuna adapted human techniques to work with alien physiology. "The key is understanding what each body can handle," Yuna explained while treating a Zentaurian soldier. "Humans can take a lot of pain, but other species need different approaches." By the end of the day, Dr. Kalthara had learned more about practical medicine than in her previous 10 years of training. The humans had shown her that effective medical care was not always about advanced technology or perfect conditions. Sometimes, simple solutions and mental toughness could achieve better results than the most sophisticated equipment in the galaxy. She began documenting everything she had learned. This knowledge would revolutionize emergency medicine throughout the galactic community. But more importantly, it would save countless lives in the battles to come. The final Vorthon assault began at dawn. Dr. Kalthara could hear the explosions getting closer as enemy forces pushed through the outer defenses. The medical station had become a primary target because the Vorthons knew that destroying medical facilities would demoralize the defending forces. Emergency alarms filled the air as wounded soldiers poured into the medical tent. Dr. Kalthara and her team worked frantically to treat casualties from a dozen different species, but their advanced medical equipment was failing under the constant attacks and power disruptions. That's when Colonel Juan Cho arrived with his reinforcements. Colonel Cho's transport ship crashed into the landing zone, smoking and damaged from fighting through Vorthon lines. The ship's doors opened, and Dr. Kalthara expected to see wounded soldiers needing immediate treatment. Instead, she saw something that would change her understanding of military medicine forever. 60 human soldiers emerged from the crashed transport. Every single one of them was wounded. Some had severe burns, others had broken bones, and many were bleeding from multiple injuries. But instead of collapsing and waiting for medical help, they immediately began treating themselves and each other. Dr. Kalthara watched in amazement as Colonel Cho organized his troops into a field triage system. Soldiers with minor injuries helped those with severe wounds. Everyone knew exactly what to do. "First priority, stop all bleeding," Colonel Cho commanded. "Second priority, stabilize broken bones. Third priority, pain management. Nobody gets carried unless they're unconscious." The human soldiers pulled out their field medical kits and began working. Dr. Kalthara saw things she had never imagined possible. Private First Class. Dalho had a piece of metal shrapnel sticking out of his shoulder. Instead of waiting for surgical removal, he calmly pulled it out and immediately cauterized the wound with a heated knife blade. The entire procedure took less than 5 minutes. Sergeant Yuri had suffered a compound fracture in her left arm. The bone was sticking through her skin. She set the bone herself, pulled the skin back into place, and used medical adhesive to close the wound. Then she made a splint from pieces of her damaged armor. Dr. Vexandra was recording everything with her psychological equipment. Her empathic abilities were being overwhelmed by the pain signals from 60 injured humans. Yet none of them showed signs of psychological breakdown or trauma. "This should be impossible," Dr. Vexandra said to Dr. Kalthara. "The collective pain I'm sensing would drive most species into catatonic shock." But the humans continued working with calm efficiency. They had turned the crashed transport ship into an organized medical facility, using only basic field supplies. Combat medic Sola Kim approached Dr. Kalthara with a proposal. "Doctor, we could use your help. Your surgical skills combined with our field techniques could save more lives." Dr. Kalthara had never worked with human medical methods before, but she was willing to learn. Sola began teaching her simplified field procedures that could be performed without advanced equipment. "The key is speed and function," Sola explained while demonstrating arterial pressure techniques. "We don't need perfect conditions if we can achieve effective results quickly." Dr. Kalthara found herself learning to use heated metal for cauterization, basic materials for splints, and simple pressure techniques for internal bleeding. The methods were crude compared to alien medical technology, but they worked remarkably well. Lieutenant Yunwoo Park became the bridge between human and alien medical philosophy. She had studied galactic medicine before joining the military and could explain human techniques in terms that alien doctors could understand. "Humans don't see pain as something to be avoided at all costs," Yunwoo explained to Dr. Vexandra. "We see it as information that helps us understand what our bodies need." Dr. Vexandra was fascinated by this perspective. So when a human soldier cauterizes a wound, they're not ignoring the pain. They're using it to guide the treatment? Exactly, Yunwoo confirmed. The pain tells us how deep the injury is, whether the treatment is working, and when to stop. It's like having a diagnostic tool built into our nervous system. The Vorthan forces launched their main assault in the afternoon. Enemy soldiers broke through the perimeter and began attacking the medical station directly. Dr. Kalthara expected the wounded human soldiers to seek shelter and wait for protection. Instead, they grabbed their weapons and joined the defense. Soldiers with sealed burns, set bones, and cauterized wounds took fighting positions around the medical tent. They moved like healthy troops, not like patients recovering from serious injuries. Colonel Cho coordinated the defense while blood still seeped through the bandages on his chest wounds. Sergeant Major In-Ho Lim directed artillery support despite having a splinted leg and burns on his arms. Dr. Kalthara realized that human field medicine was not just about treating injuries. It was about maintaining combat effectiveness under impossible conditions. Captain Yuri Song arrived with additional reinforcements just as the Vorthans breached the medical tent's outer perimeter. She had been shot twice in the previous battle, but she moved with the same speed and precision as an uninjured soldier. "Medical staff, stay down," Yuri commanded. "We'll handle the combat. Keep treating the wounded." The battle raged around the medical tent for hours. Human soldiers with serious injuries fought alongside healthy troops without any decrease in effectiveness. Dr. Kalthara watched Private Gale coordinate ammunition supplies while wearing a splint on her broken wrist. When the fighting finally ended, Dr. Kalthara surveyed the battlefield. Human soldiers were already back to treating their newest injuries. The same calm efficiency, the same matter-of-fact approach to pain and medical care. "Doctor," Colonel Cho said, approaching her with fresh bandages on new wounds, "I want to thank you for working with our medics today. Your surgical skills made a real difference." Dr. Kalthara looked at her own hands. They were covered in blood and dirt from performing field procedures she had never imagined possible. But she had helped save lives using techniques that would have been considered barbaric just days before. "Colonel, I think your medics taught me more than I taught them," she replied. Dr. Vexandra finished reviewing her psychological data from the battle. "Dr. Kalthara, I need to revise everything I believed about pain tolerance and trauma response. These humans have shown capabilities that redefine the limits of biological and psychological endurance." That evening, Dr. Kalthara began writing her comprehensive report to the Galactic Medical Coalition. She would recommend immediate integration of human field medicine techniques into standard galactic military medical training. The humans had not just survived their harsh evolutionary environment, they had developed medical capabilities that surpassed anything in the galaxy. Their ability to function through pain and perform self-treatment could save countless lives in future conflicts. But more than that, they had shown that courage was not the absence of pain, but the willingness to endure it for a greater purpose, and that lesson would change military medicine throughout the galaxy forever. 3 months after the final battle at Zerion Prime, Dr. Kalthara stood in the new integrated medical training center on the galactic capital world of Nexus Prime. Her comprehensive report on human field medicine had revolutionized military medical protocols throughout the galaxy. The training center was a marvel of cooperation between human and Alien Medical Technology. Dr. Kelthera watched as the first class of integrated medical trainees prepared for their final examination. The trainees included medical personnel from 12 different species, all learning the revolutionary combination of human pain tolerance techniques and advanced alien medical technology. What had once seemed like barbaric brutality was now recognized as sophisticated biological adaptation. Dr. Kelthara called Major Dalho Ryu, the human co-director of the training program. "The examination is ready to begin." Dr. Kelthera nodded and activated the communication system. "All trainees to examination positions. Today you will demonstrate integrated field medicine under combat conditions." The examination scenario was based on real battle conditions from Xerion Prime. Trainees would face multiple casualties, with various injuries while under simulated enemy fire and equipment failures. Dr. Siona Huang, a human military physician who had helped develop the new protocols, monitored the alien trainees as they attempted their first self-cauterization procedures. It had taken months of training to prepare their minds for the psychological challenge. "Remember," Dr. Huang announced, "pain is information, not an enemy. Use it to guide your treatment decisions." A Krillian medic named Veltar was working on a simulated shrapnel wound. His species had natural armor that made them very resistant to injury, but also very sensitive to pain when wounded. Learning human pain management techniques had been especially difficult for his people. Veltar heated his cauterization tool and approached the simulated wound. Dr. Kelthera could see him using the breathing techniques that human instructors had taught him. He pressed the hot metal against the artificial wound and maintained contact for the required time. "Excellent work, Veltar," Dr. Huang said. "You maintained focus throughout the procedure." Across the training area, Sergeant First Class Boranam was teaching a group of Altarian medics how to adapt human field techniques for their four-armed physiology. The Altarians had always been excellent surgeons, but they struggled with the speed and improvisation required for battlefield medicine. "Use all four hands for efficiency," Bora instructed. "2 hands for patient stabilization, 1 for treatment, 1 for equipment preparation. You can work faster than any two-handed species if you coordinate properly." Dr. Kelthara observed as the Altarian medics practiced the new techniques. They were learning to trade their traditional perfectionism for practical effectiveness. It was a difficult transition, but the results were remarkable. Lieutenant Colonel Chanwu Seo approached Dr. Kelthara with the day's training reports. As the senior human instructor, he had been monitoring the progress of alien medical personnel learning human techniques. "Doctor, the psychological adaptation rates are better than we expected," Chanwu reported. "Most species can learn basic pain tolerance within 6 weeks of training. The Zelani are having the most difficulty due to their empathic abilities." Dr. Kelthara looked over at the Zelani trainees. Dr. Vexandra was working with them personally, helping them develop mental shields that would allow them to function despite feeling others' pain. "The key is selective empathy," Dr. Vexandra was explaining. "You can still sense the patient's condition without being overwhelmed by their pain signals." The examination continued with increasingly complex scenarios. Trainees faced equipment failures, multiple casualties, and resource shortages, all conditions that required the improvisation and mental toughness that humans had perfected. "Commander Gaul, you entered the training center carrying reports from active combat zones where the new integrated medical protocols were being tested. Early results showed dramatic improvements in casualty survival rates and return-to-duty times." Dr. Kelthara, Gale said, "The field reports are very positive. Mixed human-alien medical teams are achieving results that neither could accomplish alone." Dr. Kelthara reviewed the reports with satisfaction. Human pain tolerance and field techniques combined with alien medical technology and diagnostic abilities were creating unprecedented medical capabilities. The examination reached its climax when the training center simulated a direct attack on the medical facility itself. This was the scenario that had originally brought Dr. Kelthara into contact with human medical techniques. The alien trainees had to continue treating patients while defending their position. They had to function through their own injuries while maintaining medical effectiveness. Most importantly, they had to overcome the psychological barriers that would normally prevent them from performing self-treatment. Dr. Kelthara watched as a Zentaurian medic named Korthak treated his own simulated burn wound. 6 months ago, Such a procedure would have been impossible for his species. Now he performed it with calm efficiency, while continuing to coordinate treatment for other casualties. "Time," announced Major Dalho. "Examination complete." The results were reviewed immediately. Every trainee had passed the basic requirements, though some showed room for improvement in advanced techniques. Most importantly, they had all demonstrated the ability to function through pain and stress that would have incapacitated them before training. Dr. Vex Andra approached Dr. Kalthara with her psychological assessment reports. "Doctor, we've documented fundamental changes in how these species process pain and stress. The human training methods are actually rewiring their nervous systems. Is that safe?" Dr. Kalthara asked. "More than safe, it's beneficial," Dr. Vexandra replied. "They're becoming more resilient, not just to physical pain but to psychological stress as well. The confidence they gain from overcoming pain tolerance challenges carries over into all aspects of their performance." The graduation ceremony took place 1 week later. Representatives from the Galactic Medical Coalition, military commands from dozens of species, and medical professionals from across the galaxy attended to witness the first graduating class of integrated field medics. Dr. Kalthara stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled graduates. They represented something entirely new in galactic civilization: medical professionals who could function in any environment, under any conditions with or without advanced technology. 6 months ago, Dr. Kalthara began her speech. "I witnessed something that I thought was impossible. Human soldiers treating their own severe injuries and returning to combat effectiveness within minutes. I thought it was barbaric brutality." She paused, looking at the human instructors who had taught her so much. "I was wrong. What I witnessed was not brutality. It was sophisticated adaptation to harsh conditions. These humans had developed medical capabilities that our most advanced civilizations could not match." The audience listened intently as Dr. Kalthara continued. "Today, we graduate the first class of medical professionals trained in integrated techniques. They combine the pain tolerance and field skills of human medicine with the technology and knowledge of galactic medical science. Together, they represent the future of military medicine." The ceremony concluded with demonstrations of the new integrated techniques. Alien medics performed procedures that would have been impossible for their species just months before. Human medics used alien technology to achieve medical results that surpassed anything previously possible. Dr. Kalthara watched as graduates from 12 different species worked together as a unified medical team. They had learned to see pain not as something to be feared, but as information to be processed and overcome. The final demonstration showed a mixed species medical team treating multiple casualties under simulated combat conditions. They moved with the efficiency of humans and the precision of the galaxy's most advanced medical civilizations. As the ceremony ended, Dr. Kalthara received word that the Galactic Medical Coalition had approved her proposal for mandatory integrated training for all military medical personnel. The techniques developed at Xerion Prime would now be standard throughout the galaxy. Major Dalho approached Dr. Kalthara as the crowd dispersed. "Doctor, the humans want to thank you for something." "For what?" she asked. "For seeing past the surface brutality to understand the real purpose behind our methods. Most species would have dismissed us as primitive. You took the time to learn and adapt." Dr. Kalthara looked around at the training center that now bore her name. Alien and human medical professionals worked side by side, sharing knowledge that would save countless lives in battles yet to come. "Major, I think it's humans who deserve the thanks. You showed us that true medical excellence isn't about perfect conditions or advanced technology. It's about the courage to do what's necessary to save lives, regardless of personal comfort." The integration was complete. What had begun as cultural shock and misunderstanding had evolved into mutual respect and revolutionary medical advancement. The galaxy would never again underestimate the power of human determination, or the value of learning from seemingly impossible biological adaptations. And on distant battlefields, mixed species medical teams would carry forward the lessons learned.